It's time for Debrief, your quick wrap-up of TRT World's top stories from the week.
Yep, happy to do that.
8 different cities in Turkey.
How much time, guys?
Hello again. Iran has announced it's stopping retaliatory strikes across the Gulf following Washington's decision to pause attacks on the country. It's being reported that it was Friday that the US President Donald Trump ordered his forces to hold off on those strikes.
The United States and Iran have now gone 3 days without reporting direct attacks, the longest lull since the conflict restarted earlier this month.
We're beating the hell out of them, but we'll see how it turns out. Right now, there are very friendly negotiations going on.
As Iran exchanges diplomatic messages with the United States, it remains steadfast on its red lines, and Iran is not ready to compromise on its red lines.
But Iran has rejected an Omani plan for joint regional management of the Strait of Hormuz. Moscow proposed an equal division of transit routes, and shipping firms would pay voluntary fees for using the key waterway. And Tehran has also threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz to any country or company that receives Iranian frozen assets.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has met with US President Donald Trump for the first time since they launched the joint war on Iran.
It's not just lip service, a conversation with full partnership, mutual support.
Trump phoned into a morning news broadcast to criticize Netanyahu for publicly announcing that Israeli intelligence has found Iran is turning its Pickaxe Mountain into a hub of nuclear production activity.
I have this intelligence, that I don't need it. He went further and said, I know what he's up to. I know he's trying to drag us in.
Fighting in the region is spreading. According to the US military, Iran-backed armed groups launched dozens of drone and rocket attacks over 72 hours, targeting American positions in Iraq and Saudi oil facilities. Washington and Riyadh responded with strikes on Iran-aligned militia positions in eastern Iraq, with officials saying at least 20 fighters were killed.
Then the escalation is spread west to Jordan, where US officials say that Iran fired ballistic missiles towards an American military base. The missiles were intercepted before reaching their target. Then there are the Houthis in Yemen, who have fired ballistic missiles at a Saudi oil tanker in the Red Sea right over there. But the conflict now, it seems that it's not just limited to the Middle East. Ukraine attacked a vessel in the Caspian Sea last week, accusing Iran of sending weapons to Russia.
And in an expletive-laden phone call with US media outlet Fox News, Trump said we'll be hitting them hard, and they're going to get a beating.
And nearly 24 hours later, US Central Command delivered as their chief promised. In a post on social media, US CENTCOM confirmed that they carried out a heavy wave of strike against Iran's military targets.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says it carried out strikes on Bahrain, Jordan, and Kuwait.
Iran argues that these countries, these US allies in the region, are allowing their territories, their airspaces, and their assets to be used by the United States in its strikes against Iran. 3 people were killed in Qashm Island. These were civilians, all of them.
Now, anger is growing across Iraq as thousands took to the streets to mourn the victims of Tuesday night's strikes on the country. At least 20 people, many from a group called the Popular Mobilization Forces, were killed in the strikes conducted by the United States and Saudi Arabia.
This is a residential area. What harm did they cause? That's the first thing. Second, where is the sovereignty? These are citizen lives. Who will take responsibility for this?
Iraqi Prime Minister Ali al-Zaidi has postponed an official visit planned for Saudi Arabia. Instead, Zaidi convened an emergency security meeting to discuss the joint US-Saudi strikes and the rapidly evolving regional security situation.
To other news, Iran has launched a drone attack on an airbase in Kuwait where US forces are stationed, saying the operation is retaliation for a deadly American attack on a home on Iran's Qashm Island.
Saudi Arabia and more than a dozen other countries have formed a multinational maritime military alliance. The coalition, which includes Turkey, Pakistan and Somalia, aims to safeguard freedom of navigation for international trade and energy routes in the Bab al-Mandab Strait, the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden.
We begin with breaking news. US President Donald Trump has announced that his board of peace has reached an agreement for the complete disarmament of Hamas and all armed groups in Gaza. Trump called it a major milestone for the implementation of his 20-point plan.
President Trump posted his excitement about the deal, also thanking Turkey, Egypt, and Qatar. He talked about an international stabilizing force which will work with the new Palestinian police force to keep up the responsibility.
He says the disarmament is set to take place in structured phases, with Israeli forces withdrawing when it's complete.
Senior Hamas officials told the AFP news agency that Israel will not be part of the disarming process.
Gaza, where Israeli strikes have killed at least 6 Palestinians across the Gaza Strip. And in Gaza City, an Israeli airstrike killed 2 people. In Khan Yunis, 2 others, including an 8-year-old child.
Despite a ceasefire and the promises of phased Israeli withdrawal, the strategy of forcing Gaza's population into an increasingly confined area under the banner of voluntary migration.
While headlines focus on the 70% of Gaza now under Israeli control beyond the so-called yellow line, the real story is unfolding in the remaining 30%.
Even yesterday, 6 people were killed, including a toddler and a baby girl, while today there was a drone attack following the statements that were made by U.S. President Donald Trump.
And most people said that would be a deal that would be undoable. Now, will it go through its ups and downs? It's a very complex situation over there.
Hundreds of illegal Israeli settlers, many of them armed, raided multiple areas in and around the Palestinian city of Nablus in the occupied West Bank on Friday. They were protected by the Israeli military. At least 11 Palestinians were wounded, including a 32-year-old man who was shot in the stomach by the Israeli army. Friday's attack marks the first time that illegal settlers in broad daylight raided areas deep inside Nablus city, part of Area A, meant to be under the control of the Palestinian Authority.
This is the first time we see settlers here in our area. The occupation forces were protecting them. They fired live ammunition and tear gas at the youth who come to confront the settlers as they were destroying the graveyard. Our children were terrorized.
Tel village is undergoing a catastrophe. Ever since last week's attack and until this moment, the settlers and the army are still inside Tel.
Over the past week, illegal settlers attacked more than 40 different villages and locations across the occupied West Bank, with dozens of Palestinians wounded with live fire, physical assault, pepper spray, and arson attacks. Officials and residents say the goal of these attacks and raids is clear: pushing Palestinians out so illegal settlers can take their place. Over the past 7 days alone, more than 10 new illegal settlements have been established on private Palestinian land across the occupied West Bank, only meters away from Palestinian homes.
Here's the news in brief, where we bring you even more top stories.
Starting off with one of the biggest sudden mass migration movements towards Europe in years. Nearly 60,000 people have crossed into the tiny Spanish foothold of Ceuta in North Africa in just a matter of days. But by Friday, Spanish authorities said more than half have already returned to Morocco, adding those who remain are being contained inside Ceuta. While exactly how many people converged on the border so quickly remains unclear, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says criminal smuggling networks exploited a recent court ruling. According to Sanchez, the networks spread rumors online that the border into Ceuta had effectively been opened. He has described the influx as an attack on Spain's territorial integrity.
The rumor spread quickly. The border between the Spanish city of Ceuta on the North African coast and Morocco had opened. What happened next was overwhelming. Thousands moved through the mountains, then down the roads, under the eyes of security forces. Finally, many waded into the water.
Once we got here, we were told to take the road to the sea. Then I found myself completely submerged in water. I was choking, and I saw 2 men die right before my eyes.
Spain says dozens of people have died while attempting to cross. But the crisis has also exposed divisions within the EU after Italy called for Spain to be suspended from the Schengen zone, prompting Madrid to summon the Italian ambassador. Yet, late on Friday, Rome announced it's suspending the border-free travel arrangements between the two countries. Spain and Italy do not share a border, but the measure will impact travelers hoping to move between the countries either by plane or boat. And another crisis is unfolding across Spain and much of southern Europe. An extreme heat wave is fueling major wildfires across the continent. Massive blazes near Madrid and across the border near Bordeaux in France have now been brought under control. But firefighters continue to battle fires elsewhere in Spain and Greece as thousands remain displaced.
Over 2,000 square kilometers of land has burned across the Spanish countryside, equivalent to roughly 2.5 times of the size of New York City. In France, more than 13,500 wildfire outbreaks have been recorded since the start of this year. French President Macron has called the wildfires the toughest crisis in the country since the World War II.
Moving over to Japan, where a magnitude 6.8 earthquake that hit Kumamoto on Tuesday killed at least 35 people. Emergency crews are still continuing their search of a shopping mall destroyed in an explosion believed to have followed the quake. A paper mill was also heavily hit, leading to a number of casualties. The material damage is extensive, and days later, thousands of homes remain without electricity or running water. As recovery efforts mostly wrap up, authorities are still working to determine the cause of the mall blast and repairing damaged infrastructure. The region is on the path to recovery, but a forecasted heatwave over the weekend could complicate those efforts further. And on the AI frontier, the rivalry between China and the US is heating up. On Monday, Beijing accused Washington of trying to suppress its AI industry. That's after the Trump administration threatened sanctions and introduced new restrictions targeting Chinese technology. The US's precautions come as Chinese industry continues to push towards technological self-sufficiency. It unveiled what it says is the world's largest open-source AI model. And just days later, it also began domestic production of key chip-making technology.
When we're looking at AI, we're looking at controls. We're also making sure that we lead. So we're leading China in AI by a lot. China has virtually no control.
All this as the US's AI industry is facing questions of its own, after its homegrown chatbot maker OpenAI revealed one of its frontier models went rogue recently.